Today, I'm going to get to it because, of course, there's a lot. SEO. I just want to bring to your attention that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and that you got to think of it like growing a garden. In your garden, you have annuals and perennials. Annuals come up once a year, and perennials come up all the time, or every year. You're building a sustainable garden, basically, and there's no magic bullet. I just wanted to give you a reminder because I know it's a lot of information. Search moves fast. Search moves fast. And as you go through this course, you're probably going to feel overwhelmed if you haven't already felt overwhelmed. And I just want you to remember that your job is just to become familiar with the components. With all things marketing, you're going to do things, you're going to test, you're going to measure, you're going to refine, and you're going to repeat. And don't feel you need to take notes unless it's a way you process and learn information. I doodle when I'm learning. Just know that. I just don't want you to feel like you're racing and writing down notes, because you can always visit this again. And there is a lot to on-page SEO, but it's fun. Imagine yourself going to Google and you're searching for a restaurant or a service or a product. You're going to use the search engine, most likely. 40% of all traffic comes from search engines. And you'll see this on your own site when we look in Google Analytics. You'll see that most of the traffic comes from search. This is why we place a lot of value on search. Now, as a marketer, I'm an SEO, so that's where I'm going to place my value. If you talk to a graphic designer, they're going to think pictures are the most important. I think because how we communicate is with words and we use keywords, I think this is a fundamental part. So once you get these fundamentals, it can feed into all your other marketing. And your goal for on-page SEO is to follow the guidelines as close as possible, keeping in mind that you're going to make improvements over time, and it's impossible to be perfect. Like, it really is. Users all like different things. Today we're actually going to talk about these things. We're going to spend most of our time on page SEO. We're going to talk a little bit about on-site SEO, and we're going to talk about off-page, because those are the main components of SEO. On-site is usually technical stuff. On-page is what this class is about, and off-page is everything that's off the page. But I wanted to define these things for you because they're important to know. Okay, some search speak. What is SEO? What is it? It's the process of following best practices to improve your website's position in the search engine results page to generate more traffic. Then you have conversion rate optimization, and we're going to go more into this later on in the course, but this is about what people do on your website. It's the percent of users that come to your website and take an action, whether it be fill in a form or purchase something or add to cart or click on a phone number. We can track all of those things. Keyword stuffing. You're going to hear this a lot in SEO. It refers to the practice of loading your website with keywords in an attempt to manipulate the search rankings. Now, you have to use what you're comfortable with your keywords, because there are some things we do in SEO that are very SEO, like where we put our keywords. And just know that it's easy to keyword stuff. Some people consider keyword stuffing even doing SEO and keyword research. There's the difference. We're also going to talk about orphan pages. And it's one of my favorite things that they call these pages. Now, these pages are pages with no links to or from them. Why they're orphan pages? Because remember how Google finds website. They search and they scour using the spiders. The spiders jump from link to link. We are going to talk more about linking at the end of this chat. And URL redirection. Sometimes you'll hear something like 301 redirects. And what does that mean? It means you're forwarding a URL from the place it originally started to another place. And these are just to introduce you to the terms that you're going to hear about later on. LSI keywords is another one. I almost forgot to mention this. This is latent semantic indexing. All it means is keywords that are related to your search term. If I write a blog post about shoes, I'm probably going to talk about tread and laces and color, and all these give the content more context. So this way search engines can know more about what your content is about. If my keyword is picture, and then on my landing page I'm talking all about baseball pitchers, there's going to be context like baseball glove and things like that. It's going to be different than writing a blog post for a pitcher and it's a jug of water. Then there's breadcrumbs, and this is the last search speak. And breadcrumbs, you'll see them in Google Search Console. You will see them here when you're on your search engine results pages. You have the availability to put them on your site using, I think, Yoast and things like that. But it's just like the path that you've gone, so you can go back easily. And we just want, it makes it more user friendly. That's why I bring that up. Okay, let's get to it. On-site SEO. What am I talking about here? On-site SEO is about function, load time, accessibility, your mobile friendliness. It's, can people fill out a form? There's something you can track called rate clicks, and that's when you can't get something done as a user, so you'll click. So it's all about how your site functions, and it is also about how your site is used. Usability navigation. A lot of people interchange on site with on page. It is interchangeable. Usability navigation. Usability, how easy is it to use on a phone or on a desktop? Is the navigation intuitive and simple? And let me tell you about the Norman door. You've all experienced this, and I use it as an example of what not to do. A Norman door is a door that when you think you should pull it, and it's actually a push door. These doors actually have a name. They're Norman doors. They're not user friendly. They confuse you. That's what we want to avoid on our site. I think I just put that in there because I love the Norman door. I love that it has a name. But the reality is what we want to do is reduce cognitive load. We want people to intuitively know where to go. And this is one of the reasons why every 5 years, to be honest, websites need updating, because things change. Where, you know, how menus are, like the 3-line hamburger menu we see on a phone was not there 6 years ago. We want to take all these things into account and follow best practices. On-page SEO and on-site are often grouped together. That's why I mention it here. And then, although we're going to dig really deep into this, just a couple fundamentals about on-page SEO. This is optimizing the elements of your page. Each page is optimized individually. It's one page at a time. It's about content and copy. You can be an SEO writer. You can be a sales copywriter. With the SEO skills, you're going to be an SEO copywriter. That's what's happening. You want to be persuasive to bots and to people. You're doing technical stuff, but you're also using creative elements to make it flow so that robots and people love you. So off-page SEO is anything that happens off-site. So it's when it depends on another web page. It usually deals with link building. It is an ongoing process. Some SEOs focus heavily on link building because it can be a ranking factor. It gives Google a signal that you're more reputable when you have Forbes linked to you. However, it's also social media and something called NAP, name, address, phone number on the web, citation building for local businesses. And it's also could be considered the Google business profile because that's technically not on your website. It takes people to your website, but it is off page. I just want you to know the differences. On page, we're going to focus on, and you've learned this before, titles, meta descriptions, and the URL. It is now actually the order is URL, title, and meta description. They changed it. Brought to my attention today. We're going to talk about website structure, although that's on site. It's also a bit of on page. And then we're going to talk about content, length, keyword, insertion, numbers. So fun. We're going to talk about links, internal and external, because we put links on our site. We're also going to spend a little bit of time on something called dwell time. And then we're going to talk about headings and subheadings, all these things that happen on your pages. And we're going to talk about multimedia, images, alt tags, Infographics, video is all considered multimedia. You remember titles, metas, and URL. So it's meta title, meta description, but this is one of the components of on-page SEO. I do have a Google Sheet for you to work in, which I will show you at the end of this, which is just a place we put all our titles, meta descriptions, and keywords in basically a list, so we can keep good track of it. When you're in SEO, when you're not necessarily working directly on the site, sometimes you have to send your information to the web developer, because SEOs and web developers work together. And SEO's job is to do the keyword research, oftentimes to write the meta descriptions, the URLs, and the titles, and send them over to the developer. And we use a Google Sheet to do that. And we are going to focus on these things because when we learned about the search engine results pages and what's happening on them, we can manipulate what we're doing so that we get clicked on more. There's strategic things that happen. And we talked about this, the capitalizations, the keyword in your URL, using special characters, location-based things. There's lots of strategies, and we'll get into this more. We're going to focus on this a little bit today because it's two sides of a coin. So one side is the business owner who writes the content, and the other side is the search engine who's showing the content. How do you get people to click on you? You definitely want to use numbers, capitals, ellipses. I love the favicon. It really just makes me feel better when I see it. Google will say and has said that meta descriptions, titles, and URLs are not a ranking factor. Whether or not that's true, when somebody clicks on your little meta description, it's like your little free ad on Google, text ad. When they click on that, that's click-through rate. And the higher your click-through rate, the more valuable. If I have 10 little spots on a page and everybody's clicking on spot 5, then that little snippet is going to move up. Click-through rate matters. Even though they say that meta descriptions and titles are not a ranking factor on the search engine results pages, they do affect people clicking on you, understanding your information. You definitely want to focus on these. First, the title. It's clickable. You want to use it for usability. It's going to show up on your social sharing. It is the title that shows up around the web. You can actually have a meta title and a regular title. I would hope you would try to make them the same, because that'll more guarantee that it'll show up that way in the search engine results pages. Titles are really important. They're 50 to 60 characters long, and don't worry, that Google Sheet will tell you if you've gone over or under. Now, you want to stay in the character limit. Generally, some people will do some trick stuff. You'll see like the ellipses. If you've written a meta description that's too long, you'll see the ellipses. The ellipses are the 3 dots. Some people will intentionally have the 3 dots to entice you, because it'll say something like, get your free dot. The titles are for visitors to learn more about your business, and they have to be good enough to attract users. This is where sales copywriting comes in. This is where SEO copywriting comes in. You want to have a good title so that people will click on you above your competitors. Your strategy is keep it short and simple and sweet. Questions have a higher click-through rate. Funniest thing is odd numbers have a higher click-through rate. Now, when you're searching on Google and say you're just looking up articles, you'll see a lot of articles that'll be like 11 best things, 15 best things, 17. And if there's one for 18 best things, they don't know anything about SEO. Because it's always the odd numbers that literally get clicked on more. Questions are always helpful as long as you're answering the question. So you can put a question in your title or your meta description. Some people will use location, so area if they're local, to make sure people know, to make sure the search engines know. A little bit of strategy in there when you're doing these. You want to capitalize things. You don't want to keyword stuff, meaning you don't want to put your keyword string over and over and over again. However, if you possible, you front end load it. If my keyword is digital marketing agency, I would put in the front of my title, digital marketing agency, and I'd probably put a pipe and then some other text. Now, that's what I would do. You always have to keep in the back of your mind that you are actually writing for the user, not the robot. And I will always recommend front end loading it with the keyword. However, it's not always possible. And the reality is that when you send over this stuff to the business owner, they have a right to change it. It's their stuff. You can just follow the best practices and give the information. Now, your meta description. Google announced in 2019 that about meta descriptions and keywords weren't a ranking factor. However, they do influence clicks, as we talked about, and they can positively impact your ranking. They're about 120 to 156 characters, 120 on a phone, and then you can write up to 156 characters. Now, I say characters. The reality is it's based on pixels, because a capital M will be a different size than a small f. But just for ease of use, that's the character limit. And if you write anything longer than that, it does get truncated. You will not see it all. Some people actually think you can write more. This has been the average for a number of years now. It did change about 2 years ago. Anyway, that's the character limit we stay within. And what you just want to think about your meta description is it's a description of what the page is about. It's a summary. With summaries, there are some impactful words that you can use, like free. Free is a good one. Fast, easy, all good keywords that people seem to recognize and click on. Again, with your meta description and strategy is usually front end loading with the keyword. Some people will put the keyword in there twice. It's a little bit of overkill. One thing you do not want to do is use quotation marks, because that cuts it off right away, truncates it. And I'm not sure why, but that's just the way it's been. The URL, now this is, do people pay attention to the URL on the search engine results pages? Sometimes they do, especially with the little breadcrumbs in there. And we definitely want to have our keyword in our URL, but we also want to keep our URL as short as possible. The better. They have proven that shorter URLs seem to get clicked on more. The structure is you include your target keyword, and the thing with some websites like Wix and Shopify is you don't have much control over the structure with regards to like category pages on Shopify and things like that. With WordPress, you have the most control. WordPress, technically, when you get down to the nitty gritty of this, if SEO is based just on URL structure, WordPress would win, hands down, because you have the capability. Now, if you need to change the way the structure of the URL is, you're going to go over to WordPress and you're going to go into your settings and you're going to go down to permalinks, and then you're going to pick post name so that it actually is going to say your business name / keyword blog post. Okay, meta, our job is to try to maximize our click-through rate. That is our whole job with our meta descriptions, titles, URLs. If we are ranking on the bottom of page 1 or in the middle of page 1, top of page 2, where we're going to focus on our SEO is we're going to focus on making our meta descriptions, titles, and URLs more enticing for people to click, because it's our job to try to get us up higher in the search engine results page, and we're closer. Then we would work on the content on the page to make people stay and give people what they want. But if you're ranking, if you're on page 60 in Google Search Console, and you're going to learn about where you are, where each page is ranking using Google Search Console. So if you are on page 60 or 50 or 40 or 30, you might decide to do other on-page SEO before you do this. Either way, At some point, you're going to want to do your meta descriptions and titles and be specific about what you're doing and have intention behind it. Now, I say that because it can affect your business. Letting a customer know you do free shipping is a huge bonus to that customer. Remember, it's like your little free ad. The other thing you really want to know is that Google is allowed to change or determine whatever they want and show whatever they want. So even though you do this, it does not guarantee that what you do will show up, and every search is different. Google can choose one time to make it show up, another time to not. Last year, Google was doing some testing on, so they'll usually mess with the meta description and not the titles. However, last year, they did mess with the titles. It got everybody in the SEO community up in arms. And Google came back and said, hey, we understand you're upset. We'll do a better job at renaming your titles for you. They didn't say they weren't going to do it. And you'll see things like if you do your title and say you did your keyword with a pipe and then your business name. Sometimes Google will just take that off and just put your business name. However, at this point in time, it is still one of the things we do as SEOs. We want to include relevant keywords. We want to include what the service is. We don't want to surprise people when they get to our webpage. If we say 40% off in that little meta, then we want them to land on a page that says 40% off. No surprises. I want to tell you all a quick story before I get into the website structure, because I think it makes a difference. A couple of years ago, I had a guy knock on my door. We lived on the Malahat, and he was wearing like grubby clothes, and he knocked on my door to tell me that somebody was going around the neighborhood stealing tires. And when I was talking to him, I'm listening to him and I'm responding like we all do, and I'm trying to figure out, is this guy telling me the truth? I'm looking at his clothes, scruffy. I'm like, do I trust this guy? So I'm doing all this stuff in my head to figure out if I'm going to trust him. And then he said something about Mercedes tires, and I looked over at his car and he had Mercedes tires. I was like, oh, okay, so this guy's legit. He's not making up stories, and he's talking about car tires he cares about. Why I tell you this story is because in that time that I'm trying to figure out, I'm judging him through my senses. When you are writing meta descriptions and titles and URLs, you are technically trying to convince people that you are trustworthy. And how you do that is doing these special things. Technically, you're being slightly manipulative with the Skittles, and you're following best practices to get clicked on that other people don't know about. You are messing with people's perception of things. They're not knowing about the bolded text. They're not knowing that you use the number 13 and you're going to click on more. They're not knowing that if you're asking a question, that has a higher click-through rate. All these things you are doing is the psychology behind SEO, which is really interesting. And I find very interesting that we can compare it to life things. Website structure. Okay. Now, website structure is very interesting, and it's something we don't often think about, but it shouldn't be random. Across a web page, we have like about and home, or home and about and services and blog and contact us. Why I tell you this is because we want to keep things about 3 levels at max. So you're going to have blog, and then you'll have blog post. It's 2 levels deep. So less deep, the less hard it is for a user to find your material, the better it is. And we want no orphaned pages. Now don't worry, I'm going to explain this a little better. This is what a website, I have 3 examples. Website structure. This would be 1, 2 deep, 3 deep. This doesn't go deeper. This is just, it goes homepage to blog, that's 1, blog to category, 2, category to post, 3 deep. We just want to keep this in mind when we build our next website, or we're redesigning our website, maybe drawing a picture of what our website looks like. So here's another example. And This is the same. It's just telling you, okay, blog, 1 deep, category 2, and then posts, 3. The other thing here is you're going to see this articles with silo. What this means is this is my articles. A silo would be like I'm writing an epic SEO, everything you need to know SEO. And then my smaller blog posts are like on-page SEO, keyword research, all the little subtopics that will support the bigger article. And you can, out of the gate, structure what you're doing in a way that makes sense. And we see that up here it says sitemap, HTML, and XML. XML is what we give to robots. HTML is our sitemap on our web page. And there's also this one, which is basically a e-commerce site. So you have category pages and then subcategories. This is just about structuring your site. You'll get better at this over time. This is just so you can try to picture what a website will look like in your head. The homepage is always a homepage, and it leads you to other pages. If I have to go 5 pages to find one page on your site, and it's linked on the 5th page, it makes it hard for the user. It's just not a great structure. It's just simple. All you really need to grab from this is simple is better. Just try to keep it simple. The more drop-down menus we have, the more cumbersome it gets. I understand that for a lot of businesses, it's not that optional. Like for schools, there's a lot of options. You want to give people the information they need, while at the same time keeping it as simple as possible. Copywriting. Okay, the primary reason for getting people to your site, we always want relevant, quality content that draws people in. We're going to get better at this over time. We also want, to support our information, give links to social media, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. To be successful, we write high quality content based on keywords that people are searching for. So that's why we do pay attention to the search engine results pages. Your job is to incorporate being SEO friendly. Now that you know some of this stuff, when you do it, it becomes super powerful because you already have the content and now you're updating the content. There's going to be 2 things when you have a website. If you just start out in your business and you're building your site, that's the first year. You're probably building content. Second year, you need to build new content and review your old content because those 2 things are what matter. Google wants freshness of content. So they do want fresh content. They're like my last name's Seymour. Did you ever watch Rocky Horror Picture Show? No, it's where the plant says, "Feed me, Seymour." That's like a search engine, only I'm using my own name. Basically, just feed the search engines content. That's what they want. If you update content, that's a freshness factor. Anyway, you also want to use things like those keywords that people are searching for. We know the questions people are asking. We see it in the search engine results pages. We can utilize those questions either as a keyword on their own for that page or incorporate the questions into the page. The things we're going to talk about with copywriting are length, keyword insertion, numbers, list, dwell time, headings, links, and multimedia. What does good content do? Makes the reader stay on the page. Good content is a mixture of utility. It provides trust. They begin to trust you. You become an authority in the field. You're the expert. You got to think, who is going to my content? So there was an algorithm update called EAT. That's expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. This is what you're trying to build. You're trying to show people you're an expert, that you have authority, and that you're trustworthy. How do you do that? There are a number of ways. If you completely satisfy a user, how many times do you go to, you see something on the search engine results page, you click on it, and it answers all your questions, and you actually sit and read it all? That's a good article. That's keeping you engaged. We want to keep users engaged, and we want to satisfy their intent. If I'm talking about the best something, I most likely might doing a comparison to other things. It also helps naturally build links. When you have really good content, people will naturally link to it. It takes some time, and that takes away from that arduous link building process that some people will do, which is emailing, hey, can I write a guest blog post? Things like that. Or writing articles on like Quora or Reddit and then linking back to your site. What we're trying to do is improve user engagement, because the longer somebody stays on your page, it's a ranking signal. Now, the reason we're going to spend time focusing on copywriting is because this is what's going to protect us against algorithm updates. If we're doing all the things, when there's an update, we want to be on the side of the update. Because if we're on the wrong side, we're losing traffic, and it does happen. This is why knowing about algorithm updates is important. This is why having an SEO on your team is also essential, because it's so hard to pay attention to everything. Or get an SEO friend, right? We know Google's job is to satisfy you with search results fast, and you get what you want. If you do not get those things, you will not stay on Google. So Google's job is to get you the best results. Your job is to basically write great content. I know, I'm sorry, it is a simple thing about SEO that works for Google using your keyword phrase, and you have to figure out what you need to do to rank. So who's your competition? What are they doing? And when we go in the class, spying on your competition, you're going to learn how to look at your competition stuff and see what they're doing. Are they doing it? Can I beat them? So it's not just keyword research anymore. It's keyword research and can I rank? This is a great keyword I want to pick. Now you go over the search engine results pages and you see the person that's ranking and they're not using the same keyword. Could you probably beat them? Maybe. They have pictures and videos and oh, you don't. So these are things you're going to need. The strategy is try to use the intent that people are using when they're searching with modifiers. The longer you start to do this stuff, you'll find your own rhythm and you will become more confident. The hardest part is that you're writing for humans and robots. It's easy to write for humans. It's harder to write for the bots. Computers don't understand our web pages. We need to really know that. Computers see our web pages basically as ones and zeros. So know that. When you're doing these things, you're trying to make it easier for humans and bots to figure out. You have some best practices. If your content is clearly structured, and this is going to be a hard one for some people, you have to write a grade 6 level. You literally have to not dumb it down, but make it simple. Short sentences, thorough content, grade 6 level. I do have a tool that you can use called Hemingway. It's a computer app. You can just open it up as a web browser and you can put your content in there and see what they tell you. Now, that being said, if you are using something like Yoast, what will happen is the Hemingway app will say one thing, Yoast will say another. You do have to use some of your own reasoning on why you're keeping this, why you're doing this, what you like best. I literally write content and I will use the Hemingway app, I'll use Grammarly, and I'll use Yoast. It's no easy feat, I tell you. The idea of content length is very important too with on-page SEO. Some best practices, we want to definitely answer questions. We want to supply additional content, which means internal linking, which I'm going to talk about in a tiny bit. And we want to look at the buyer journey. If I'm ready to buy something, I am going to type in buy swimming pool products or hire a professional. That's probably going to be on my service pages. But if I am talking about top of funnel things, I am going to want that in my blog. How to, what is, say I was going to get the pipes refitted in my house. Not that I know you do that, but my first search would be, what do I need to know? That's probably top of funnel. Some little tricks of the trade. We want to answer fundamental questions using H2 tags. So you have on your blog post, you've picked your keyword, you know what it is, and then you know that you've gone over to the search engine results pages and you've seen all the questions people are asking, and you think some of them are relevant to answer. And so you're going to write the question as a H2, and then you're going to answer it underneath with regular paragraph text. And the reason you do that is because it helps you show up in the people also ask section. You could actually rank in there. And we know that when people are in there and they get that information, oftentimes they'll click through to the site. There's a lot to do with on-page SEO. However, it can be really fun when you get into it. Your job, remember, is expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. How do you prove you're an expert in your field? Well, you're talking about your field. You're giving people the details they want. Authoritativeness is going to be about reviews. It's going to be about like supporting points. If you're talking about washing machines, and there's a component of a washing machine called a jibble jabble, you're going to link to another source that talks more about the jibble jabble. It's a really bad example, I'm sorry. You're also going to want to use synonyms and LSI keywords. Now here are the things that some people don't know. Most people know you have to put your keyword in your heading. Number one, your H1 tag. It's also going to go in another heading tag. Your keyword's also going to be in the first 100 words of the beginning of your blog post or your page. Why is that? Because that is a signal that this is what the page is about. Now, the things people don't really pay attention to are, look at what resonates with you, because you as a user know this stuff. You're just not looking at it. Lists work like a charm. If I get a list, I'm getting a lot of what I need. Lots of people scan pages. Headings are important. Headings should tell you what's under the heading. If you utilize these, then you're going to support what you're saying, and people will spend more time. A lot of people will scan a page and determine if they're going to read it. What you want to do is have them scan that page, and in your H2s, you're answering the questions, so they're going to want to dig deeper. Lists always help. Numbered list, ordered list, or unordered list, which are bullet points. They really give people the synopsis quickly. People can decide, hey, this is the article for me. The other thing is multimedia, supporting information. I love reading web pages that are just text, but I know that is not the norm. You want pictures in there, video. Different people ingest their information differently, and if you can have supporting video in your documents, it's really helpful. A couple years ago, we were told in 2023, 80% of the content consumed will be video. We got TikTok now. It's your job to try to incorporate this. I know it's a challenge, but what you do today and what you're doing 6 years from today is going to be very different. That's why we start today, so we can be that pro in 6 years. A lot of business owners, and you'll probably come up against this as a marketer, will get Yoast and they'll follow all those green lights and they will need them all green and they don't. You're going to know that it's nice to get green, but the reality is that if you write good content in a way that works for you, as I said, if you're using the Hemingway app and Yoast, sometimes you're going to follow what the Hemingway app says over Yoast, and a lot of that's about transition phrases. Transition phrases are like moreover, along with, and those phrases to link sentences together. With our strategy for copywriting, we want to match intent. We want to know the questions we're answering. I tell every business owner I talk to, hey, when people ask you questions, when people come in, customers come in, make sure you have a pen and paper at the front desk. Write down those questions. You want those questions on your website, because what we are trying to do now is we are trying to get people to know us, know our business before they actually buy, so that when they're ready to buy, it's a no-brainer that they're buying from us. It's a parasocial relationship. They know you, you don't know them. And that's what we're trying to build with our content. We're trying to become the trusted resource. How do we do that? We talk about what we know and we dig into it. And we talk to the people that aren't always always necessarily just our customers, but they're actually people in our industry, because those people in our industry will link to us. If I'm a car mechanic and I am talking about the parts of a radiator, that might not be for the average Joe that's coming in to get his radiator fixed, but it would be for the dude down the road that does his own stuff, but he's coming to you and trusting you. And eventually he's like, I don't have time to do this. And then he comes to you and he's buying your products and services because he already trusts you. Now back to keywords are super important and they need to show up. If you are doing SEO for a business and they're like, I don't want you to change the content on my site, then you're going to say, okay, here's the best practices. And don't worry, I have a little book you can use. I told you the franchise story. I worked with a franchise company that sold franchising schools around the world. And they didn't want to use the word franchise. So I could update their meta descriptions and titles and URLs because they didn't know where they showed up. But I wasn't allowed to help them optimize their content for the word franchise because they did not want to identify like that. They're not going to get customers that are searching for them using that word. It's just not going to happen. So you do have to change your content on your site if you want to do well. You can't just change your meta descriptions, titles, URLs. You want to bring in those secondary keywords, although that's not your main keywords. When you write, you're going to pick a keyword, but what's going to happen is you're going to rank for many keywords by just picking one and focusing on that. Eventually, it just gives you this hyper focus, but then Google sees you as a broader category. It's very interesting. And when you write a blog post, whether or not you're doing it today or tomorrow, or you're picking a keyword in the next couple of weeks and you're going to try it or update a page, you're going to start to see that information on Google Search Console. And it will give you this feeling that you're doing something. So don't forget to use those important questions in your text. Okay.
I have a question.
The homepage. The homepage is the most important page on your site. It is the page that most oftentimes on most websites is the page that you land on most as a user. Your goal of your homepage is to talk to the human, incorporating keywords. Some people believe that you can try to rank for up to 4 keywords because all your services are listed out and who you are is listed out and your blog's on there, and basically your job is to just show your expertise and quell the skepticism and fear. Like, you want to prove with reviews, social proof, that you're trustworthy. You also want to facilitate streamlined navigation. Drop-down menus are not great for SEO. However, you do often have to have them because you can't have 16 things across the top of your screen for your menu. Some people believe you cannot optimize a homepage with a key. We do the homepage last. I will tell you that now. It's the first page, but it is the last page because it can be very challenging to pick a single keyword. We will try to incorporate more keywords. Some other businesses also believe that you would use a seed keyword or a short tail term for your homepage. For us as a digital marketing agency on our homepage, that is going to be one of our keywords. Is that going to be my only keyword? Probably not, but maybe I just want to use that as my main theme. It could be digital marketing agency or advertising agency. That's the theme. And then there's other kind of keywords. Do your homepage last. It is the hardest page, and you will spend more time looking at keywords and just trying to incorporate maybe more keywords because it is the page you get landed on most, which means it is the page that there are more keywords it's ranking for. That being said, the Contact Us page is another page that is a challenge. Now, before I get into the Contact Us page, let me talk about the About page for a second. The About page is where you're going to use your brand term, your business name, because it's about your business. So you can use other keywords too, if you want. However, homepage was hardest one. About page, you use brand name, then the Contact Us page. Your job on the Contact Us page is to do similar things that you would do on the homepage, where the 4 goals are to basically facilitate intuitive navigation, answer questions, quell the fear and skepticism. One great strategy is you have your contact us form on one side and you have a small video on the other side that tells the user, after you fill out this form, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get an email from us. It might get lost in your junk mail, so just keep an eye out for it. But we'll get a hold of you, and if you don't hear from us, reach out again because something's gone funny. Whatever you want to do. Just so multimedia is great on a contact us page. And simple. Let me just tell you what you have to think about with everything you do is you have to think about that person in a Starbucks line who is on their phone and they're looking for a service and they've got the contact page open and then they're all of a sudden at the front counter and the person's like, what would you like? And they're, hold on, name, address, oh my God, they want my phone number. Oh my God, they want this. Oh, name, phone number, email. If you can get rid of the phone number, you'll get more responses. Anything additional will slowly deteriorate the number of people that fill in your form. Less is more. On a lot of contact pages, you'll have the phone number, make it clickable. You'll have email that people can click an email, and then you'll have the form. Why do you do that? Because different people are different. Some people just want to pick up the phone. Some people want to click on the email link. Some people want to fill out the form. And that's where you'll see the difference. If you have a form that's lengthy and you have a phone number that's clickable or an email that's clickable, you'll probably get more emails or phone clicks. Less is more when it comes to the contact form on the contact page. Okay, quickly, heading. What you need to know about headings is they describe your most important topics. They have an indirect benefit. They say they don't impact SEO, but people skim the page. H1 tag. Google has said you can have more than one H1 tag on, that's your title on a page. I would recommend against that. Your title tells people what the article or the service is about. You're going to want your keyword in more than one heading. When an H1 tag, maybe an H2 tag, do that question answer things. Remember, people skim. When you start reading an article that you like, start paying attention. What are their headings? What are they doing? Do they have an ordered list? Do they have an unordered list? The other thing about headings is don't go past H3. Avoid H5 and 6. You can go up to H4. The reason being is H5 and 6 are reserved for really technical writing. And they're not needed. Simple is better. We want to help people stay focused. Now, oftentimes people will choose different headings based on sizes. Just know you should have more control over the sizes of the headings, and it shouldn't be just related to an H5 tag is like this big and an H2 is like that big. Your job with your headings is to help people stay focused, to make things more accessible so that people understand the content and what they're getting. Keywords and synonyms in the headings are often helpful. The other thing is keep them in order. You'll never have an H4 above an H1. You should never have an H2 above an H1. You can have an H1, H2, and then H2, H2, and then H3, 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 or you can have H1, H2, H3, H2, H3. If you look over here on the left-hand side, we can see that the heading is the name of the product. Then we have H2 tags, which are the product description. Our H3s are our shipping, and then you have more H2s. Just gonna try to keep it simple. I'm gonna go through links. Now, links are super important. You have two types of links. What is a link? A link is that hyperlink text. It can be a word, it can be a button, it can be a picture, it can be a logo. It all points to another location. There are two types of links, which I'm going to get into in a sec on your site. Building links are really many tactics, and a lot of people in SEO focus on link building. For local SEO, it's easier to link build. For regular SEO, if you're not doing local stuff, it's harder. That's why we focus on really good content. And that's going to earn us those links over time. So that's one thing. Now, link juice flows through your site. You can use text, images, anything can be called the link. That hyper blue link text, the words you use in that text they actually matter. When you have somebody writing, go to our contact us page to get in touch, and you have the hyperlinked contact us page, it's telling Google, oh, that's a keyword contact us page. If you have something that says click here, that's not helpful. And we'll look at those things in Google Search Console. You just need to know that your hyperlink blue text over time will become a strategy on its own. There are two types of links. The first type are internal. These are linking from pages to other pages in your site. These help with navigation. They help people stay on your site. They also stop the orphan pages. This will increase your authority. It contributes to your ranking, and it makes people stay on your site and get more information, which is great. It allows users to flow through your site more easily. They are super important to have on your site, especially because of the orphan pages. They're anchor text. So it's the clickable text. Your strategy is, say you've got to build a brand new site, you picked all your keywords, and you're building all the content. If you know the keywords on certain pages, the content that you write on, say, this page over here, that's going to link to that page over there, you want to use the keyword to tell Google, hey, the keyword that's on this page is what this page is about. I don't know if I explained that really well. We will go deeper into this later. The other really important thing you need to do is you need to externally link to other sites, as Rena was saying, for supporting documentation, basically, to verify facts, to backup sources. If you look at Wiki, which is a top ranking website, they link out to everything. They're linking to themselves, they're linking out, and people have actually tried an external linking process, and that's how you rank. That Google Analytics 4 setup page that I actually rank for in the third spot of Google, crazy. I actually link all the articles I read at the bottom. It can help, but it's a great way to verify facts or create resources. Now, the thing you do want to do with an external link is you want to have it open another page. You do not want to just send people away from your site. With your internal linking, you can keep them like on the one browser tab. If you're doing external linking, you want a new tab to open, because you don't want to send them away. I often find that when you go to websites and you click on the social links, it sends you away from the site. It's not great because people want to go check out the social, but they also want to be on the site. It's harder to get direct links for product pages, so don't even try. Right? With products and things like that, your category pages are what become really important. And if another SEO company is not necessarily going to link to my blog post article on their website, because you're sending them away and then to another resource that's identical that could provide the same service. Might not be ideal. If I'm a carpet cleaning company, I'm talking about carpet cleaning, and I send them to another carpet cleaning company to verify that they're a good company, that sends them away. We want to be strategic about our external linking, and it's just to support what we're saying. And we can work through this together. Outbound links, they increase your relevance there. They help the search engines jump and learn more about what's going on. They build trust. They increase confidence. They help people dig deeper into topics if they need. And they give crawlers a helpful idea of what your industry is about. Then we have multimedia. Now, you know about this. This is time on site. Why we're talking about dwell time, which is time on site, this is where multimedia comes in. Multimedia is something that matters. The longer somebody stays on your site, the better an indication is that your site is relevant to what they searched. We're trying to keep people on our site. I think I've told you that Google and Facebook hate each other. One of the reasons, Google's a little jelly of Facebook because people go to Facebook and stay there. They go to Instagram and they stay there. With Google, they go to Google and they leave to go to another site. We're trying to do the same practice that social media is doing, Google wants to do, which is we want people to stay on our site and get information. That's why we open an additional page when it's an external link and it's the same tab on our browser when it's an internal link. Multimedia is things like videos that support the information, or images, pictures, infographics, anything that keeps the user engaged. Not too much animation on a page, that can drive people off, but definitely it's a tactic used to engage people. As we learn to ingest information faster, different people learn different ways, so supporting our information with video, basically now, video and images, is becoming more and more important. So we definitely want to keep that in mind when we are building our site. Image best practices, we are having a whole class on image optimization on websites. We will talk about that. The main thing you want to know is there's a number of different types of images, and photos are huge. Taking a photo that is from Unsplash or something like that, so they're stock images, and changing them a little will benefit you more than having generic stock images on your site. Also, videos are very heavy, so you want external hosting, YouTube. The goal is to engage customers, keep them interested, help them with the buying process, make it so that they feel confident and comfortable when they're on your site. Image optimization is what we do to images to make them great. When you have an image that you're putting on your website, the only thing we're going to talk about here is that naming of that image. Please rename it so it's not 06429. Just rename it with your keyword, possibly. Then you can upload it, and then you use your alt tag to name it. But start naming images, and that'll help your SEO in the long run. Images are heavy. WordPress, because you have so much control in WordPress, with great control comes great responsibility, which means you're going to have to learn how to optimize images and compress them. With things like Wix, Square, Shopify, they actually do that for you. It's the benefit of less control, and they do some extra things for you. Images best practices, personalize your stock images. You don't just want to use stock images. So before we go, and I know we're going maybe a minute or two over, just a couple don'ts. Don't wrap your entire product description as a heading. Use subheadings, don't keyword stuff. Try not to repeat the same subheading. You must have more than 300 words on a page. Must. And duplicate content. There was a big article last year or the year before that was like, Google doesn't care if it's duplicate content. They do. Duplicate content doesn't mean content that's the same on your website from page to page. You might have some information. The classic one is a lot of shopping sites will have all the special information that might stay the same. Duplicate content means I have two websites with the exact same content. Google is only going to rank the ones that's more relevant. Just know that when that comes up, which it will. And there's some secret tools for you. And don't worry, these are going to be listed out in Kajabi. These are going to be things like I talked about Yoast, the redirect plugin. There's some image size stuff, and there's the Hemingway app. These will all be there, but the content tools are fun. The Hemingway's, the editor, is the best one, and there's a couple plagiarism checkers in case you hire somebody, and then some shortening image stuff. Now, all this stuff will be in Kajabi. Just note, one of the ones I'm using a lot more now that's a lot like Photoshop, but free, is Photopea. It's a great site. You use it more and more, and the Hemingway are the ones I use the most. So your job, your challenge, if you're willing to take it, is to come up with a keyword that you want to optimize a website for. The plugin that I use is Duplicate Page. So if I have my web page and I'm duplicating, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that page, I'm going to duplicate it. Then I'm going to edit it to be SEO friendly. And then once I'm satisfied, then I'll move the content over to the main page. I definitely want to get it done. I don't want to keep publishing and publishing. Other times I'll take a Google Doc and we scrape content also on content. It's better to have the content off the site, update it, and then add it. Or duplicate it, keep it in draft, and then update it. And I'm sorry I went over today. I know on-page SEO is a lot. And I can stay for a little bit if some people want to ask questions, or we can just hit those questions next week.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, we will see you next week. And have a lovely Friday, mini Friday today.